Good afternoon. This is play-by-play coming to you live on this Wednesday afternoon. Coach Brian Callais here, alongside Damien and Pierre. Coach Golden Middle School, flash basketball, bitty basketball. I think that's about it.
More importantly, Danos recruiter.
Danos recruiter, yes. We're going to talk commercial break one coming up soon. We got a good show lined up for you guys. Today at 12:15, we're going to talk some Saints football, some signings, free agency. Their league started today, so we'll get and talk some Saints football. At 12:30, we're going to go out to Assumption High School, and we're going to talk with their head football coach, Coach Will Broussard. Then we're going to mix in some Pelican talk. We're going to talk old Zion, see what he's up to, and the Pelicans, see if Willie Green can win a game here coming up soon. 1 o'clock, we're going to go out to Teddy Renoise. He's going to talk to us about the Southland Conference Tournament. Nichols girls won the first game, then they lose the second. And the men do the same. They win and lost a heartbreaker last night to Lamar. And after Teddy, we're going to go and talk some college basketball. And we're going to have a segment, What's Bugging You? We're going to just talk and see some things that's happening in the local area or national, whatever. So what's bugging you? Let's remind everyone, we want to thank the Blue Boots Foundation for sponsoring Play-by-Play, and also Rev, the official internet provider for KLEB streaming. Let's get right into the scoreboard from yesterday. We had a good bit of games on the baseball and softball side. Let's first talk softball. It was Central Lafourche falling to Hornville 14-0 and gets a 7-2 victory over HL Bourgeois. Thibodeau 23, East St. John 3. I think that might have been an extra innings. No, 23-3. It was Lutcher 23 under 0. Assumption takes care of Morgan City 15-0. These are all softball scores. Edie White gets an 18-7 victory over South Terrebonne. South Lafourche falls to Vanderbilt 17-0. Irwell gets a 15-0 win over Patterson. And St. James gets a 2. They fall to Central Catholic 2-4. Homer Christian takes care of Highland Baptist 15-0. CCA falls to Patrick Taylor 9-5. On the baseball side of things, from yesterday's scoreboard, it was Destrehan falling to Live Oak 13-6. HL Bourgeois falls to South Terrebonne 7-0. Bill takes care of Patrick Taylor with a 14-0 victory. Vanderbilt 6, Terrebonne 2. Thibodeau 11, Assumption 0. Eleanor falls to Crowley 4-3. White falls to University Lab 9-6. Lutcher falls to St. James 9-8. Morgan City gets a 12-2 victory over Patterson. South Lafourche gets a 6-1 victory over Hanson Memorial. Berwick falls to Slidell 4-2. Homer Christian falls to Ascension Catholic 11-5. Central Catholic of Morgan City gets a 13-1 victory over West St. Mary. And CCA continues their win streak. They take care of East Ascension 16-1. So that was a big victory for Covenant Christian, taking on a 5A school. Damien, bring you in. CCA is rolling right now on the baseball side of things.
They got the right folks in charge over there. Seem to be rolling, seem to always have that very, very competitive team. And it's no surprise at this point. Obviously, hanging with the big dogs right now, being a smaller school, but that's no surprise with the folks they have on board over there.
And look, Joe Touton, great baseball coach as it is, he brings in Coach Butch Terrio to work with the pitching staff, and they're doing a tremendous job out there. And we'll see how long they can keep it up. But the thing is, in that division, it's a one game. You don't play a series; it's one game, and that would get me nervous if you take care of business throughout the regular season. Playoffs, you lose one and you're done.
I mean, don't they do a series at the end? Is that accurate?
No, in that division, there's no series. It's one game. Yeah.
See, as a coach, I like that. You got to be better than them for 9 innings or however long that game lasts. Beating a team twice is extremely difficult, especially in a short time span. But as a coach, I think I'd rather that one game format. You just got to be better than them. When you get into baseball, you got to have the pitching staff and you got to have the rest for those folks as well. So that's a huge deal as well. But I mean, Coach Joe, Coach Butch, they got some miles under their belt. They know what they're doing, and they know how to.
It's just like all the other divisions and classes, whatever, they play in series. And for some reason, this one is not I think he might have another class or two that's just single games, no series in the playoffs. But you're right. You got to be better than your opponent for that day. So, Damien, let's go ahead and just chat a little bit. What's been going on with you? If you want to talk about, let's talk with Danos. You brought it up. What about Danos?
So let's transition to that right after. We're talking about the scoreboard. Last night, got a chance to go out to the middle school track meet at Central Lafourche. A ton of parish teams. I think every parish team, as well as Houma Junior High, were out there. Ran a little bit late. But, some tremendous competition, some tremendous events out there. I know off the results, I was trying to look them up. They're not posted yet, but I know in the discus for sure, Alea Guidry from La Rose came out first. Miss Adeline LaFleur from Golden Meadow came out second. And I know for sure in the mile, Miss Sophia Lewis comes out third. And Miss Kimberly St. Pierre in a close fourth. Sophia, she burned her on that back end of the stretch, but tremendous showing by all the athletes out there. Really, really good night of track at Central Lafourche last night to open up the middle school track season. As far as Danos, man, we are rolling. Gulf of Mexico, land, Texas, Colorado, Wyoming. We have a ton of work going on right now. Got a ton of openings. We're doing a lot of great things. I know I'm missing our town hall forum right now, but I'll go back and check that out once we leave here. Man, I can't speak highly enough about the leadership and the folks that work at Danos, and the way we do business is best in class.
Yeah, and we do appreciate you guys sponsoring our new show tonight, Inside Tarpon Athletics. We're looking forward to that, where we're going to talk to Golden Meadow Middle School track coach Caitlin Como. She'll be on tonight, and hopefully she can give us some results of the meet that they ran yesterday.
If she talks bad about my kid, let me know.
Yeah, I will. We're going to record it for you. And also tonight, speaking of track, they're going to have the freshman Tarpon Relays tonight. They're going to have beautiful weather for it. And on Friday is the Tarpon Relays, the big relays down the bayou, where South Lafourche will host their track meet. Always at the beginning of the season, they host their meet. And if you plan on going out, bring a jacket or sleeves, or it gets chilly at night.
I was about to say, do not forget your winter clothes, because it starts off at 80 degrees when the sun goes down. Last night, they had a lot of folks. Luckily, I got a year in as a parent, so I was prepared. Hey, look, before I forget, Holy Rosary was at that meet as well last night. Shout out to Vivian Fonseca, which is Coach Du Fonseca's daughter. She is by far the smallest athlete out there. She beat some of the bigger schoolgirls last night in some of those long-distance runs. I think I was cheering for her more than I was from my Golden Meadow kids and my own kids. She did fantastic. She had the heart of the whole stadium out there. She's got the heart of an absolute lion, man. Very impressive to see her compete.
Where do you think she gets the endurance running from?
Look, I see her play basketball. She don't have the Fonseca shot yet, but I'm sure that's being developed as we go. But that whole Fonseca family, a ton of athletes, ton of hardworking folks.
Yeah, and look, when I see Dude getting off the bench, he gets tired just standing up. So I know if she doesn't get the endurance.
Hey, over the past weekend, Coach, I learned there's a Saturday Coach Du and there's a Sunday Coach Du. Coach Du on Sunday is a lot similar to our style than he would probably like to give us credit for.
Well, we talked a little bit yesterday, but just kind of a brief segment here on the basketball tournament. Y'all had a big one this past weekend, but let's go ahead and tell everyone what's next for Biddy.
So everyone's getting ready for either their last invitational tournament or regional tournaments, kind of going through those schedules right now. I don't know if people understand what happens behind the curtain in Biddy basketball. It takes the coordination of so many people involved just to get these tournaments rolling. And I know I shouted out some folks yesterday, but I don't know if I missed anybody, so I'll do it again. Coach Abel Berg, Coach Joby Cantrell, Coach Du Fonseca, and Travis Terramone, who coaches with Coach Joby, did a tremendous job of aligning a lot of things this weekend, and it was awesome, man. To go out with the way that we did, we had a lot of really, really good feedback, and it's just a tremendous way to go out. And shout out to the Cutoff Youth Center as well for hosting us and being great partners in youth basketball year round. They give us a lot of practice time for our travel groups that they probably don't have to give to us, as well as catering to a lot of the. I mean, I don't know if you've worked with me before, but you know I'm very difficult to work with at times.
Oh, yeah.
Very needy. And they do a tremendous job of meeting a lot of those needs and a lot of those wants to make our program what it is today.
So when y'all host these tournaments, is it like a fundraiser for the all-star teams? Or I know in the past, Biddy, you would hold it and you would get the money from. Is that the same, or has that changed?
Sort of peel back the onion a little bit. Everything that we do at South Lafourche Biddy basketball is under the Cutoff Youth Center. So all of our funds are managed by them. You say that, but then again, they fund everything that we do. So every weekend we have a tournament fee. Every team has to pay, I think it's $250 to the organization that's hosting. They take care of that. They have our registration. And then we do have an agreement right now in place with the LaRose Civic Center that we partner with them as well. And they do a tremendous job of giving us dates and times for games and practices. But the Cutoff Youth Center is really where our home is, and they take care of a lot of the financial obligations that are associated with Biddy basketball.
Yeah, it's good to see these young boys and girls playing and out and just not sitting home. They're getting active. And just a couple of weeks ago, we were riding the golf cart, my wife and I, around the neighborhood, and seen my group of 5, 6, 7 boys were playing football in the yard. And I told Tanya, I said, you don't see this often. I wanted to stop and play with them.
You're not doing that.
No, I was going to be quarterback or probably the center, where I just snap and wouldn't move. It was good to see, and it's great to see that the Biddy program down here is still strong, and that helps build a foundation for these young boys and girls when they get to middle school and also to high school.
It's amazing, Coach. It's amazing that the kids that pick up basketball at the middle school level that haven't played before, and you could see the difference from, even if you have 2 or 3 years playing, you can see the difference in those kids that come in the program that haven't played before, that are just super athletes that have the ability to make the team, that you have to kind of start from square one with the basic fundamentals. And you got these kids that come in from Biddy. We are blessed down here with some tremendous sport minds, tremendous coaches that do a fantastic job of teaching the kids the game and having some fun in that whole process. And it's definitely valuable.
And speaking of coaches that do an outstanding job, we got Jawoski Coleman, where we're going to go to in our next segment, state championship basketball winner from Vanderbilt High School on the girls' sides. We're going to go ahead and take a break. When we get back, we're going to have Coach Jawoski Coleman from Vanderbilt Lady Terriers on the line. We're back here in a few minutes right here on KLEB. And welcome back to Play-by-Play. Coach Brian Callais here alongside Coach Damien St. Pierre. Let's go to the phone lines for the first time today. We're going state championship style. We're going to speak with Vanderbilt Lady Terriers state championship coach. Coach Coleman, how are we doing this afternoon?
How about you guys?
We're doing well. First of all, congratulations on winning that state championship. You girls had a great game, never gave up. Y'all fall behind early. They come back, and you did enough good things down the stretch to come away with the championship. Talk to us about that game.
Yes, sir, man. We had a good group of girls that was determined to win, and they never backed down. And that was the key for us, just never backing down, withstanding their blows, and just trying to finish at the end and have that last run at the end.
Yeah, Coach, what was impressive? Y'all defense, y'all kind of it was very tough on Madison Prep to score after like that first initial run they went on. Just talk to us about the play of your defense.
We start every practice with a defensive drill, and it just sets the tone for that championship mindset. We just wanted to play our style, and our style is a really good style of defense, which is man-to-man, and our man-to-man showed up, and our hard work really paid off throughout the year.
And talk about the journey all season where we know what happened last year and kind of might give you all extra motivation. Just talk about that extra motivation that what happened last year gave to your girls.
It just left a bad taste in everybody's stomach, and we had to make our stomachs feel better. That was our mode for this year here, just to feel better. And the only way to feel better is to go ahead and just win it all. And that was our goal, just pushing forward, is to just get to that championship game. And once we get to that championship game, we was going to leave it all on the line. We was going to leave it all on the floor.
And Coach, talk about how unselfish this team was. It really does not matter who scores on your team as long as the Lady Terriers are scoring. Just talk about how unselfish these girls were.
Yes, sir. We preach all the time. Everyone that steps on the floor has to be a threat. And once you're a threat on the floor and you have that confidence level of being a threat on the floor, we all have, every time somebody touches the ball in the offense, you got a one-on-one or creating for a teammate, and that's the thing with us. We always want to be able to help out our teammate, and if it's just us scoring the ball individually or just setting it up for the next man, and our offense is built for it, and the girls do a great job of being very unselfish. And what helps it out, them being friends off the court, is the main thing for us, and I think it makes it a whole lot easier when we're sharing the ball around and everybody's able to put the ball in the hole.
Coach, you guys have made some runs in the past. You've been in the playoffs before. Did you do anything different in the offseason or during the season that you could attribute the championship to?
We just stay according to course. We thought we had the championship recipe the past few years. The injury bug hit us a lot. Like, even it hit us this summer with Michaela Charles, and for her to come back in and really give big minutes at the end and come away with the championship and MVP trophy. So that was the main thing for us, just staying healthy this year. And once we get into the playoffs, we wanted to just be able to be hitting on all cylinders, and it showed in the championship game.
Let's talk about Michaela Charles. Coach, she goes down with the injury, and she works her way back. And just her character, where she accepted her role when she got back coming off the bench. And, you know, I said it before, when she comes off the bench, it's not just quality minutes. She produces for your team. Just talk about her character to be able to be a starter, then have the injury, fight hard to come back, and accept her role coming off the bench.
Michaela is the actual defensive three-time MVP since her freshman year. And for her to actually come off the bench, she never whined, she never complained, she never questioned it, never wanted to have a private meeting. She understood what her role took, and that was the beauty of her, because she understands the game of basketball a lot more than a lot of people. It's not all about scoring to her. It's about being that facilitator, being that rebounder, doing everything what it takes for the team to win. And she did it on the off season. She did it off the court. She did it in the therapy room. She did it on the track. She did it riding a bicycle. She put in the work to get to that stage. And I could just only thank her enough for just accepting that role and just playing amazing.
And talk about their attitude, the grit that these girls had when the game was on the line. It's like your stars took over and were determined not to lose that game.
Yes, I actually just heard a story the girls had said after one of the timeouts, coming out of the timeout, Michaela Charles was the one that made the comment, hey, guys, we got this. And when the girl said, when they said she said that, all of them just went to another level, and that's right there speaks testimony of her. And I actually have her right here, right now with me.
Hey, Coach, we're talking a little bit about your roster, and, you know, we're located down in Bahia, and talk about some folks that does a lot of the little things right and excels at that. Talk a little bit about Maddie Dufrene and what she gave to your squad this season.
Maddie Dufrene is just the definition of hard work, the definition, the picture of dedication to a teammate, a true teammate. Maddie works harder than anyone. She may not have the athletic ability like the other girls, but her work ethic makes up for it. And Maddie went from being coming off the bench as a sixth man, seventh man, and she worked her way into the starting role her senior year. And that's just all because of her hard work. And she has great parents. You know, her parents motivated her off the court. So, like, it just played a key role for us. And she's actually one of our leaders on our team. We only picked 2 captains, but if I would have to have a captain on defense, Maddie Dufrene would be my second captain on defense.
Michaela, question out for Michaela. Talk about your journey, your senior year, of how hard you had to work to get back into playing shape and your role coming off the bench.
I could say it was long just because when I found out that I was first injured, I kind of just wanted to give up. But at the end of the day, I had to realize that they still had time during the season that I was going to be able to come back. So I could just say that, like, it took a lot of hard work and dedication, and I had to be determined to come back to play. Just because it wasn't easy, like the physical therapy, the practices, it wasn't easy to get where I am today.
Yeah, and Michaela, just talk about the work you do in the classroom, because you're a well-rounded student athlete. Just talk about how important the classroom was to you.
Well, books come first. You have to have the grades to be able to play any kind of sport. So, like, I have to just be determined in also the classroom before I could just step on the court and play basketball.
What are your future plans? Did you plan, you signed with Nick, was correct, or they offered you?
Yes, sir.
So what are your plans as far as education-wise on the college level?
I'm kind of undecided about what I want to be, but I'm probably going to go in, like, the physical therapy field.
Well, Michaela, it was a joy watching you play these past years. Just how you handled the situation this year is very impressive, and we wish you nothing but the best of luck in your future.
Thank you.
All right, Coach, you back on?
Yes, sir.
One last question for you. I know you want to soak in this state championship, but I know how you work. What are your plans for the offseason?
this offseason here, we're going to get back to the basics. We're going to get back to the drill and kill. That's the main thing. We got to go back and sharpen up some skills. We're losing a lot of talented players, so we got to go get that skill level back up with our younger girls and just go start setting that expectation up for the next run, next season, next whatever goal that this next team has. This team right here, a group of teams, they wanted to win a state championship, so they accomplished that goal. We'll see what the next group wants to do, and whatever that goal is, we're going to go try to fight it and go get it.
Well, Coach, the saying is you have to have athletes, that some athletes can make a coach better. You did a great job, and I don't want people to, I think you deserve some credit where you called the right plays at the right time. And I go back to those out-of-bounds plays where y'all down 2, you drew up a great play. You put these kids in the best possible situation to have success. So I want to congratulate you on the job that you did this year.
I appreciate it. A lot of people don't understand, like, with us as coaches, like, we put in a lot of time, just for those moments. You may practice 30 minutes just for 10 seconds of a play. You may put in hours of a particular concept just for that 5 seconds in a game, and the girls really made me feel very proud to be able to just write something on the board and they go in and execute it.
Yeah, and the world we live in, people are quick to criticize, but they're kind of slow sometimes to give people a compliment. So I want to compliment you and your girls on winning that state championship. That's something that both of y'all, you and your team, can be very proud of.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much, and we really appreciate you guys covering us and, just making us feel wanted. That's it, and I really appreciate you guys for just girls basketball is on the up. And it's always boys basketball, but I'm glad to see us shining some light on the girls' side.
Yeah, and we're glad to be there. So, Coach, congratulations again. Good luck in the summer preparing your girls for the next year.
Yes, sir. Thank you, guys.
All right. That was Coach Jawoski Coleman, the Vanderbilt Lady Terriers. Just a great job what he did with his girls this year. And we had the privilege of calling that game on Saturday, and it was a blast. And we had, so much fun. And these girls played hard. And, we mentioned a couple of kids, Stewart, Journey Johnson, a tremendous player.
So I did not get a chance to watch on Saturday, but I did watch the semifinal game. And at the end of the day, they were just a tougher team in that matchup. And it wasn't anything that was, and I don't want to take any credit away from Coach Coleman, but his girls are absolutely tough. You could tell they were prepared, and credit to him on that. They wanted it. They rebounded the ball tremendous. They finished on the inside, and the defense was just super frustrated, and that led them to exactly where they wanted to be at the end of the season.
And look, they started the game off. Madison Prep, I think, starts off 5-0, and there was no panic at all in the Lady Terriers, and they came through, and just a great game, and it was nice to see the Terriers win that state championship, especially coming off of what happened last year, the little extra motivation, and I'm glad to see them get the job done.
I agree. And Coach Coleman hit on, girls basketball being on the upswing, and he hit the nail on the head when he said that. Just seeing around our area and around the state the interest in girls basketball in general, from high school level to college level to even middle school level. Going around in the summer, you used to have to, whenever I first started coaching girls basketball for the travel season, you'd have to go around and network to find these tournaments. And now you're getting phone calls, and now all of these girls are getting super talented, and they're getting exposure to college coaches year round. And it's a tremendous opportunity to be able to get to that next level. And credit to girls around our area. You mentioned Journey Johnson, Michaela Charles, Amy Ingram, all getting those college offers very early in their playing career. That's a credit to the exposure that these coaches are giving these young ladies.
Yeah, and also Chris Goff,
mm-hmm.
he deserves a ton of credit for he was an assistant coach at Nichols for a while, and he kind of got that LGR up and running. I think they do a great job.
They do. Their tournaments are really well ran. Not a lot of drama, which is hard to find in the travel ball circuit. But he started that. He started some rankings. He does some tournaments that are in the NCAA observation time, and anytime he's a big social media guy. He does some live feeds and different things throughout the year, and anytime there's anyone throughout the state that's getting a college offer or that does something tremendous, he's showcasing that young lady, and his platform is super valuable to girls basketball in the state of Louisiana. So, you good?
All right, back. Okay, we had a text message saying that the mic I was on was cutting through, so we should be good.
What happens
now
when Casey leaves here?
Believe me, let's not even go there.
Okay.
Not even go there. All right, let's go ahead and take a break. When we get back, we're going to have Coach Will Broussard from Assumption High School, their head football coach, on the line. This is Play-by-Play right here on KLEB. And welcome back to Play-by-Play. Coach Brian Callais here alongside Coach Damien St. Pierre. Let's go to the phone lines where we have Coach Will. All right, let's go to the phone lines where we have Coach Will Broussard on the line. Coach, how are we doing this afternoon?
I'm doing fine. How y'all doing?
Doing well, thanks. Listen, let's talk about some off-season work that you guys are getting in. How do you get your off-season work in with you guys?
I'm lucky. We're at Assumption. We actually have a PE class for just football, so we're able to get all the football players in, and have them work out. We work out with Carr out of Morgan City. They come in a couple of days a week, and we've been doing 4 days a week since January. So we've been trying to get bigger, faster, stronger.
Now, do y'all have tests on these athletes at certain times? Do you test these guys in the weight room?
I'm sorry. Say it again. I'm sorry.
Do y'all have certain tests to measure their progress as the summer goes?
Oh yeah. We do. We do the maxes, and we try to get times on them and jumps and stuff like that to kind of see how we're progressing throughout the off season, and it kind of gives the kids goals too as to where they are and where they want to be.
Talk to us about the your spring football. I see a lot of teams now, they're opting out of spring and going towards starting early in the fall. What is your situation at Assumption?
We're doing spring. I was my first year here, I actually opted out of spring, but then you don't really know what you have until the fall hit. You don't know who's your hitters, who's your who can do what. 'Cause you can do the 7-on-7 stuff. But you don't really get to see the physical part of it until August. So the last 2 years we've done spring, and I know some people, if your baseball team goes deep into the, makes deep playoff runs, and you have a lot of football players on the baseball team, then it hurts. We're not in that situation. So, even though our baseball team's good, it has been good. We don't have a lot of baseball players that are also football players, so we can do spring and still get something out of it.
Yeah, and from what I'm hearing, next year they're going to move the baseball season back, where the finals are going to be at the end of May, and I think that's going to hurt a lot of schools in their spring decision if they're going to play spring or opt out to go in the fall.
Yeah, no, I totally agree, and you might see more teams, maybe opt out of spring and go with the earlier start, in the fall. And again, I'm one of those guys. I can go both ways. So if next year we have a bunch of baseball players on football players that are playing baseball, we'll opt out too. But I think it's good to kind of get out there and just kind of see what you got early, then you can kind of adjust during the summer and go into the fall.
Now, Coach, I'm sure after the season you sit back and you kind of evaluate your entire program. What are some things? Let's start with the positive. What are some things that you were happy with throughout the season when you're looking at your team?
Well, we got a lot of young guys playing time that maybe we didn't. I don't know if we were quite sure they were ready for it or not, but because of injuries, and things happening throughout the season, those guys got playing time. So that's always a good thing when you can get some experience, for those younger guys. The overall attitude, these guys want to get better. They like working. They work hard. So those are all good things. We just got to cut out the mistakes, and become a little bit more consistent, when we play. Definitely the positives is getting those young guys playing time. So now hopefully that helps us, next year when they're a little bit older.
And when you're sitting back looking, what are some things that kind of caught your eye that you need to work on?
Well, we got to get stronger. I think, no matter what scheme you run up front, if you can't move nobody, it doesn't really matter. So I think we got to get stronger. I think, and again, like I said before, we got to become a little bit more consistent with our play. We'd have a good play. Then we'd have something negative happen. So if we can cut out all those mistakes, where there's turnovers, missing a block, not being in the right gap, not hearing the coverage. Just cut out those. Those are things we can control. When we can take advantage of that and do those things right, we give ourselves a better chance, of winning games, about being able to win games.
And, Coach, looking at your schedule for next year, is it pretty much the same, or you just flip-flop the home and away?
Yes, sir. Yeah. So we start out with we got Downsonville over there. Then we have we play HL Bourgeois and Thibodaux, and then we get into our district schedule. So it's going to be tough. And the good thing about having a tough schedule like that, if you survive it, I think you're battle tested for the playoffs. So so it's tough going through it, but once you survive it, I think you're better off in the long run.
And Coach, we talked injury-wise. What are some things that you can do to try and I know injuries happen. You can't stop that. But some things that you can maybe work on that maybe can reduce injuries a little bit.
That's tough because, you could do the same thing 2 years in a row, and 1 year don't have any injuries, and, in the next year you have a bunch of them. So it's, we try to watch the wear and tear, throughout the season. We ask a lot of these kids. We ask them to be here 6 days a week, and so we try to watch. We don't go as many practices in full pads towards the towards the end of the season. It's kind of hard because it's hard. You can't go full tackle, with it. But we just try to watch the wear and tear as we go through the season.
And Coach, if I missed this, I apologize. But do you have a spring game, or you're in a squad?
No, actually, we're doing a spring game this year. We're going to Pearl River on the 15th of May. So we were trying to find one a little bit closer, but we weren't lucky enough to find one closer. But Pearl River was willing to play, so we're going to go out there and see what we got.
Well, that should be good for your team. Pearl River was pretty good. I know they lost a few guys, but that's a good test for you guys.
Yes, sir. That definitely gives us a good picture of where we are, by that time.
Well, Coach, thank you so much for the time. We're going to check in from time to time during the offseason to see how the Mustangs are doing.
Yes, sir. I appreciate your time. Thank you all very much.
All right. That was Coach Will Broussard. Does a tremendous job at Assumption. 2 years ago, man, they were so close, and it didn't work out for them. Last year, they had to fight through some injuries, but he's got that program moving in the right direction. And if he can, stay there and keep working, those guys understand the new attitude that he's bringing into that program. And just Coach Will's a great human being and coach. And we love just keeping up with him to check on him and how his program's doing.
Great job with those boys, and just to have that culture established and continuing his success is always fun to watch.
Well, let's go ahead and take a break. When we get back, we're going to talk some New Orleans Saints football, and who knows whatever's going to come up. Phone lines are open, 693-1600. But when we get back, we're going to talk some New Orleans Saints right here on Play by Play. Welcome back to Play by Play. Coach Brian Callais here with Coach Damien and Pierre. I want to thank Coach Will Broussard for his time in the last segment. Now, let's move on to some maybe depressing news. New Orleans Saints. Today marks the beginning of the NFL league, where you're going to see free agents signing here, moving here, teams restructure certain deals, and the Saints agreed to a 3-year contract extension with tight end Jawan Johnson. I think that's a good piece for him to keep him in New Orleans. But we spoke about this earlier, where Derek Carr restructured his contract, moved some money into a signing bonus. He's not taking a pay cut, which, you can kind of understand that. They signed you to that contract. They should have to live through it, not just take it back because they're not producing.
That's how business works. If you are not producing in a position, you no longer have a job. That's how business and that's how life works, except in the fantasy world of the NFL, where we have entitled folks that sign these long-term deals that feel 100% entitled. And him restructuring that contract, he stood firm. He said in the offseason that he was not going to restructure. He was not losing any money. I signed the deal. This is mine. And he stood firm. The Saints had to readjust. Obviously, they're doing a lot of internal movement right now to free up some cap space, because their cap space is absolutely dreadful right now. At this point in the season, you want to move in the right direction. Are we moving in that right direction? Are we just cleaning up some in-house stuff and just going at it again.
You know, and I think the Saints and every NFL team, you have to ask yourself this question. Let's say at the quarterback position, the Saints should ask this question: can Derek Carr win us a Super Bowl? And my opinion, I think no. I don't think he can. I think one game he's 14-13 as a starter for the Saints. But then when he doesn't start, the Saints are 0-7. But again, starting, he's 14-13. That's not going to get you to a Super Bowl.
Let me play conspiracy theory real quick. So his buddy was the head coach, right? They played in Oakland together and was brought to New Orleans when Dennis Allen got the job. Do you think they purposely did not sign a veteran, solid backup quarterback just to not have any talk about moving him from that starting role?
Never thought of that.
I'm a big conspiracy
guy. I would say no, because I don't know if Mickey Loomis is even that smart to do a conspiracy. So
I think Dennis Allen was probably making that call. But you mentioned Carr winning a Super Bowl. If you look at any credible list of rankings of quarterbacks in NFL, he is in that bottom quarter of every single list. That's one of the only consistent things in those lists is that he's at the bottom. And it's going to be – I've sat in this studio probably for the last 7 years talking about the Saints and talking about what they're doing, and it's a joke between Casey and I when we leave here. It's 500 football, no matter what. Until you make that move for a quarterback, it's 500 football.
We have a call. Let's go to the phone line. And good afternoon. You're on live on Play-by-Play.
Hello, Play-by-Play. First of all, I want to say that I agree with you. I don't think Mickey Loomis is smart enough to be involved in any kind of conspiracy theories. I think he proved that with signing Derek Carr in the first place, keeping Dennis Allen as long as he did, and for some way not figuring out, of course that's more of a coaching decision, not figuring out how to use Jamal Williams when he led the NFL and rushing touchdowns the year before. But anyway, the reason I felt compelled to call is since we're discussing Saints quarterbacks, please do not give up on Spencer Rattler just yet. I think the Saints got a steal where they drafted him. You might remember a guy by the name of Joe Montana, I believe, was a third-round pick, and we all know the Tom Brady story, and everyone wants to say that Spencer Rattler looked terrible as a rookie, but a guy by the name of Peyton Manning also had a terrible rookie season. So let's please not give up on Spencer Rattler just yet. I think the future is bright. My biggest fear as a Saints fan is that Mickey Loomis is going to let Spencer Rattler walk out that door, and he's going to go shine for another team, but you know, we'll cross that bridge when we get to it.
I think you bring up a great point in that with Rattler, where let's look at Kellen Moore's offensive system, what he did in Philadelphia with a mobile or running quarterback. I think Rattler can fit perfectly into the system of Kellen Moore.
Yeah, the problem is he's got to get on the field, and we all know that's not going to happen as long as Derek Carr is there. So what are you going to do?
Yeah, anybody I think in their right mind would get rid of Carr. Let's see in the preseason and what's going to happen with Rattler if he can get behind the center and produce, because I think he fits it well. And maybe they're going to have a decision to make. But
I think the difference this year is going to be you don't have a buddy-buddy system at quarterback and head coach. And I keep on harping on that, but I think that's how it is. You're going to have a coach that's hungry to win. Dennis Allen was not hungry to win. He's never been, and nobody ever accused him of that. So you're going to have – that was a great point by the caller.
Speaking of
Rattler may have that opportunity.
Speaking of buddy system, I'll take Buddy Miller over Derek Carr. At least Buddy Miller can fall forward.
I guarantee you Buddy Miller could eat a roast beef po' boy quicker.
Well, Buddy was quite the athlete back in his day now.
I believe every word of that. And then he can cuss at you in French, and you won't know what he's saying. That's even more fun.
He does it in French and in English.
You guys be good.
Yeah, thanks so much for the call, Jeff. You know, Kellen Moore took the Saints job with the expectation that Carr would be the quarterback. I don't believe that statement. That's what the statement is coming out, that he took the job based on Carr being the quarterback. And, I mean, he's 14-13. And maybe look around, not take the job because you want him at quarterback.
Kellen Moore wanted a NFL head coaching position. He took one of the, if not the worst positions to move forward in a positive way when he took the job as the head coach of the New Orleans Saints. He knew what was in front of him. There has to be some agreement that it's not going to be a one-year type of deal where he comes in, doesn't succeed with the tools that he has. Give him a couple years to build that foundation to be able to win. Do I think Kellen Moore can win as the head coach of New Orleans Saints? I do. I do have a little faith in him. It's rare that you get a Super Bowl winning coordinator to go to another team and they're not successful. Obviously, they know what it takes to be successful. I think he just has to get the tools. But you hit a great point. He's going to be successful when he has somebody that has some legs that could get out the pocket. What he has right now, that it's not that person.
Oh, and look, we need to stop the players from getting cut in New Orleans and going to Denver. The coaches are fired in New Orleans, go to Denver. And what Denver does, they win. So right there, I think it just tells you how bad this organization, and I'm going to say was, hopefully it was, that they switched that around and keep these guys in that they can play. They're telling you, they're showing you that they are NFL players. They can produce, but why not in New Orleans? What is going on there?
So you made that correlation between Denver and New Orleans. Right now, if Brian Callais is the head coach anywhere, and you got an opportunity to select Bo Nix or Carr, who are you taking?
Bo Nix.
And he's awful. He's got a great supporting cast, and he's got a great offense, but at the end of the day, he is terrible.
And let's see, in a year, the more experience he gets, he is going to be a legitimate starting quarterback in the NFL.
I'm going to sit here and disagree with you. I think he's in a great system. I think his last year in college, he was in a great system where he didn't have to really use his arm or his mind. He threw a lot of screens, and I think Sean Payton's doing a good job of keeping him in check. But when you see that first playoff game where he had to do something, aside from that first drive where he looked tremendous, he kind of looked like a high school quarterback sitting there for the last three quarters. So I think that maybe exposed him. I just don't think he has an NFL arm or an NFL mind. I think he's more of a check down guy, and I think that's his ceiling.
And I think you bring up a good point about the system. He's going to be in Denver's system. I think he's going to produce. He's going to be a type of quarterback. I think it's a legitimate starter. But Sean Payton will not ask him to go out and win the game. He's just going to ask him, control the game and not worry about going out and winning, trying to make plays that maybe you can't make. And I think they're smart enough over there where Bo Nix can thrive in that system.
Seeing Bo Nix play at Auburn, I never in my life would have thought we would be talking about him being an NFL starting quarterback. But he's in the right situation, and you said it right. I don't think Sean Payton's asking him to be Drew Brees at this point, but at some point to win those big games, he's going to have to make those plays. And that playoff game exposed him to what he really is right now. I'm not bought in. Sounds like you are.
Yeah,
I'm not bought in at the moment. So we'll continue to text on the side about that and argue about that.
I'm kind of bought in, but let's wait and see. I think he's going to produce over there for Denver. They got a better shot of winning than the Saints do.
This year, absolutely.
And speaking of the Saints, they traded with New England. The Saints got tackle Devon Gottschall and for a 7th-round pick. They signed Jawan Johnson again, and Saints lost Paulson Adebo. Signed a 3-year contract. How bad the Saints organization is, he left. Now, I understand money. He left and signed a 3-year contract with the Giants.
Von Gacho, do you remember scouting him when we were coaching football?
No.
He's a local guy, I believe, at Plaquemine. We went. Maybe Salafus played him. I don't remember if we were scouting or we were statting.
It was at Plaquemine.
I believe so.
They played him. Yeah.
Yeah. So I remember that name tremendously. Lives in my head. I do think that trade was just that's some cap room. He's eligible to be waived coming up at some point. I think they're probably going to get rid of him, but that's just to free up a roster spot and to do that. It looks like the Saints also. I don't know if they signed him or they're pending a 3-year deal. Justin Reed as well. So that's going to help out in their secondary.
Yeah, and up front on the defensive line, Chase Young, they signed him to a 3-year contract. Chase Young is 25 years old. He had 17 games he played for the Saints. That's all of them. And I think that's a good re-signing with getting Chase Young. Saints defense is kind of getting older.
Starting to get up there in age, and they're not doing much about it right there. You got some aging defensive linemen. You got Chase Young, who's not the youngest buck in the world anymore. That's going to be a big deal. Dennis Allen got a lot of flack, but he was a defensive-minded coach that had some success, and we'll see how that looks going forward. Personally, I'd rather have a Kellen Moore type, an offensive guy. The NFL is predicated on offenses and quarterbacks. I think we got think we maybe have the right guy. We just got to give him the right toolbox.
And real quick, 2 quick points before we get to our break. And Teddy, we coming to you. The Saints in the draft, any position I think they pick is going to be good because they got so many holes to fill. So I think that's going to be good.
And that's not necessarily the worst position to be in. You just
No.
take the best available. You could build your roster through that. And sometimes you pigeonhole, hey, I need this position X. But that's a good position to be in. Obviously, they won some games down the stretch that they didn't need. And now we're sitting in the middle as always.
And one thing, if you want to see some go watch older games on the Saints and see how good they were to compare now. It's night and day. Let's go ahead and take a break. When we get back, we're going to go to the phone lines. We're going to have Teddy Renoise, but we have a phone call. Just a caller, please hold on line. We're going to get right back to you. This is Play-by-Play on KLEB. Welcome back here to Play-by-Play. Speaking of Tommy Bado, let's go to the phone lines where we have Mr. Tommy Bado. Tommy, how we doing this afternoon?
Man, after that commercial and then that intro, I mean, we're living good right now.
Hey, we do a lot for our clients.
I like that. I was calling in because I heard this other guy on the radio, and man, he just sounds fantastic today.
Appreciate that.
Well, when his mic, we turn it down sometimes.
Fair enough. But no, I was calling. I was listening to all this Saints talk, and it's nice to have a refreshing voice on Sports Corner. But I'm just trying to figure out, what the hell the Saints are doing. This was the year to finally, pay the piper and eat it. And it looks like Mickey Loomis has never learned.
Yeah, Mickey Loomis. Last year, I think he came out and it's like, trust me. Do you trust Mickey Loomis?
I used to be a big believer, and I loved all the cap manipulation and the strategies, and I wish my CPA could figure out some of these tricks that the Saints are doing to get under the cap with my taxes. But I thought this was the year they would finally do it. They would cut bait with Derek Carr and realize that, for the next 2 or 3 years, this is Baker Mayfield's division and just rebuild. But they apparently are not with that Justin Reed contract and just, doing their common restructures and getting under the cap just to get obliterated by it next year. I don't understand it.
How happy of a guy would you be if Baker Mayfield would have ended up with the Saints?
So I would have been probably the most excited football fan in the entire state. But the more I think about it, I have a sinking feeling that the Saints would have fully destroyed Baker Mayfield's career more than Cleveland did. So I don't know. It's a mixed bag of emotions if he would have came here. But now I'm happy he didn't because they wouldn't have surrounded him with the talent that he has over there in Florida. So
and let's see what the Saints are going to do in free agency. But who in their right mind would want to come to this organization right now?
Apparently, if you're a Chiefs cast-off, this is your home because that's what they do every year. They want to sign people from the Chiefs who have ties to Louisiana. That seems to be their MO right now.
Hey, I know we just talked about this in private group chat, but bring this to life in public. Gardner Minshew is a free agent looking for a home. How about Tampa Bay with a Minshew-Mayfield combo?
That has all the possibilities to be the greatest quarterback room in the history of football. And I know that Mayfield turned it down a while back, and I don't know if the show Quarterbacks is going to get done again on Netflix. I know they did Receivers last year, but if they could have some kind of reality show between Gardner Minshew and Baker Mayfield on the same team, in the same QB room in South Florida with, I'm sure you know who else lives over there, Ric Flair and Hulk Hogan, the possibilities are endless. So that would probably be some of the greatest TV ever made.
Did you get a chance to, I was doing adult things I didn't get a chance to watch on Saturday night, but you see the North Carolina versus Duke game? Give us some thoughts if you did.
I did, and I was pleasantly surprised for most of it, but I was ready to turn it off, and then of course they come back and RJ Davis gets hot, but then there's just weird stretch in which Hubert Davis for some reason takes out RJ Davis in his last game ever in the Smith Center, and the wheels fall off and they go down. I think the school in Durham made 14-0 run, and then after that it was all she wrote. So I was drinking the Kool-Aid again, and I think we got put in our place. And it's funny you say that because now I'm actually working from home today because we have to play Notre Dame, who got lucky against Pitt yesterday. And so I'm in the same kind of boat now. We're either losing today or we're winning the ACC tournament. And if they actually let us into March Madness, it's kind of the same thing. We're either losing the first weekend or we're going to the Sweet 16. There's no middle ground with this team, and it's actually...
So, Coach Callais, I know Tommy's a big sponsor of the radio station in general and Coastal Broadcasting, but how nice is it to be able to stay home from work just to watch a mid-afternoon basketball game?
I guess when you're the boss, you can do it.
First time I ever call him the boss.
That's the first time anybody's ever called me the boss, so it's probably the last.
Well, yeah, getting off this Saints talk, man, it's depressing. And like I tell people, go back and look when Drew Brees, that Super Bowl run, and just look at the plays, the highlights. And, of course, it's highlights, but you go back today and watch some of the Saints, and it's night and day. You're going to get depressed.
Oh, I mean, look, it's definitely depressing. And so, I jumped off the Saints bandwagon for a couple years after, they disgraced Bobby J and let him go to Atlanta. And I made a bet with myself that way back when I was still in college, hey, if they signed Drew Brees, I'm back in. And I was. I literally got season tickets. I've been having them ever since then. And so I've been through all the highs, and now I've witnessed the lows, and just it's everything. There's so many people that are just so dejected with just the handling, the trajectory, and I don't think there's any, and this is, I guess you might get this all around. I don't think there's any fan base that hates their quarterback more than the Saints do. And the fact that of all the things that were going on in the city with the Super Bowl and things like that, you had Cam Jordan and all these other guys just playing a major role in the city, Tyrann Mathieu, and guess who was nowhere to be found?
Yeah,
Carr.
Yeah, not a good look.
His brother was all over the internet, but Derek Carr is nowhere to be found.
Yeah, not a good look at all. And I think at first regular season home game, I think fans may let them know.
Oh, that's trust me. And then the only other thing is the only saving grace of the Saints team over the past couple of years has been Taysom Hill, and it's not official yet, but it's pretty much the writing on the wall that if he's not here and he leaves, I think that's going to piss off the fan base even more. So it's going to be an interesting season. I mean, I see what they're doing. They do it every year. And, yes, some of the moves they made make sense. We needed a safety, and they're probably going to try to go after, some other interior linemen and things like that. But every year somebody gets hurt. We're one of the most injured teams in the league. They just let Peyton Turner walk to Dallas. So that now makes, 4 defensive linemen failed draft picks in the last 5 years, give or take. So they do all this. They get everybody all excited just to go 7-9, just miss the playoffs, and fall right outside of a top 10 pick. It's just it's never ending.
Yeah,
I know this year they're at 9, but I guess I'm praying to get the wide receiver from Arizona, who's a freak 6'6" athlete. I mean, that would be nice, but he's shooting up draft boards. I mean, knowing us, we're gonna draft some defensive lineman or tackle from Arkansas Pine Bluff.
Can you imagine being a GM at any other team than the Saints and having to call one of your players in and just say, look, we made a move, you're going to New Orleans? I think I would want a bulletproof glass or something in front of me to make you can't be happy if they call you in and say you're going to New Orleans.
That's a fact. And then I think you alluded to it earlier, Paulson Adebo ups and signs with the Giants. They don't even have a quarterback. I think they got Tommy Cutlets, but I mean, we all. I mean, it's a great story. It's a local boy, but he's not a starter in the league. But you have people jumping ship to go to teams without a quarterback just so they don't have to play with Derek Carr. It's pretty pathetic.
Well, Tommy, we're up against a break. Tell everyone the sidebar. When's the next episode?
Next episode of the sidebar, I believe, is going to be scheduled to be on the 27th. I'll have to obviously double-check with Casey on that, make sure our schedules match up. But it's scheduled to be on the 27th, so please keep sending in your questions and topics for us, and we'll try to address them.
Tommy, thanks so much for the call. Hope you have a great rest of the day.
Y'all too, and looking forward to March Madness next week.
Yes, sir. All right, that was Tommy Bado, host of the Sideboard show right here on KLEB. They do a wonderful job, Casey and Tommy, taking questions, and Tommy just explaining certain things that maybe a normal person wouldn't understand, that he can go ahead and give them explanations and good advice.
I still find it hard to believe. So Tommy and I have been friends since I've been protecting him in one way or another, and now he's doing a fantastic job of protecting other folks in the legal system. Yeah,
but I wish we were on YouTube where Damien's talking and just shaking his head like, can't believe I'm saying this.
Are my subtitles reading too loud?
Yeah. So we're going to take a break. When we get back, we're going to have Teddy Renoise talking about some nickel sports right here on KLEB. Welcome back to Play by Play. Coach Brian Callais here with Coach Damien St. Pierre. Let's go to the phone lines where we're going to have Teddy Renoise give us some information on Nichols Athletics. Teddy, how are we doing this afternoon?
Fine. I cut my grass this morning, taking a break to do this, and I'm going to head back, take out to do some more yard work in this nice weather.
Beautiful weather to do it, that's for sure. Teddy, give us a rundown on the Southland Conference tournament. Colonels are heading home.
Yeah, we'll start with the men. I kind of was worried about this Lamar matchup, seeing one in person and watching the other one on television. Lamar's just a long team that plays tough defense, and they gave Nichols fits. And this game actually played out like the previous two, where Nichols leads in the first half, plays well, looks like they, going to have their way with it. And then the second half, Lamar's defense slowly takes over. Their inside game slowly takes over. They're not the best three-point shooting team. They got a couple of guys, but it's really their height in the paint and their ability to score in the paint that makes it a difference. And then they pull it out at the end, similar to what they did here at home at Nichols when it was a 4-point game that they beat Nichols. Now, at their place, they destroyed Nichols early in the second half and wound up winning by 12. Bad sign early last night was the fact that Jamal West Jr. didn't play in the game. He had a family emergency, unfortunately. I hope everything's okay on his end, but he had to leave Lake Charles, my understanding of my sources, and he did not play. And Jamal is the best inside player Nichols have. Again, I mentioned it before. He's only 6'5", but he's strong, and he can push people out, and he can score in the paint. And they didn't have him at all. And against Lamar, that I kind of shook my head, and I was a little worried there right off the bat. They did start Mackay Collins, who's been here for 4 years, developed into a nice player, but he's not the scorer that Jamal is. And they quickly took him out, and they went small, which was a smart move because they played a 5-out offense, and instead of trying to just pound the ball in there, they drove to the goal, got past some of the height, was able to get to the rim and score. But when you look inside the numbers, Nichols only shot 22% in the second half, and that was a big, big problem. It was an ugly game because Lamar, they only shot 32% in the second half. But Lamar was 18 to 25 at the free throw line. Nichols only shot, I think, 14 free throws in the game. Another big stat, they both had 15 turnovers, but Nichols only scored 12 points off those turnovers, and Lamar scored 22. And Lamar had 7 block shots, and most of that came at the end. Another problem, not a problem, but another thing that happened when they finally got that, you got to remember, Nichols trailed 4-3, and then they led the whole game until the final 2 minutes. Or didn't take the lead again until the final 2 minutes of the stretch. And then Lamar scores to go up by 1, and I want to say it was around a minute left or so, maybe even under a minute. And Caleb Robinson, I don't want to single him out, but he only played 4 conference games this year. He missed almost the whole year with some sort of injury, and he throws an errant pass right to the Lamar defender, and they were able to score and take that 3-point lead and really kind of put Nichols in a bad spot. And Rob Brown, it wasn't the best of shots. If anybody could have made that shot, it was him. But it just went off the rim, and they shut down Michael Gray. Michael Gray Jr., in my opinion, he didn't make the all-conference team, but he played like an all-conference performer this year, coming off the bench. The guy averaged 20 points in the last 2-3 weeks of the season, and he was a 3-point demon. Well, he only went 0 for 2 behind the arc, and they really got up in his chest and didn't give him any room. Disappointing 3-point loss. I know they like to get that rematch with McNeese and see who would have been the better team because they split during the regular season. But, hey, another good, solid season for Coach Sadler and the crew. He's going to be losing a lot of seniors this year. I think senior day was about 6, 7 of them. So he's going to have to do some retooling in the portal, and we'll see. Hopefully, we'll see what they got next year. But it was a good season. It was an enjoyable season. They were fun to watch, and they matched up better with McNeese, in my opinion, than they did with Lamar. So when I saw it was in Lamar side, which I knew, I was like, man, that's the game I'm worried about, and it played out to be so.
Yeah, and Teddy, Lamar's defense toward the end, I think they forced Nichols into a couple of bad shots that came back to haunt them. And you're right, that big turnover cross-court pass that was stolen, that sealed it pretty much for us.
Yeah, I mean, look, Robinson, I'm not saying it's his fault. There was a number of plays that could have gone either way that could have determined the game. But this was a guy that didn't have a lot of playing time this year, and he only played the last 4 conference games, and he had to step up because Jamal West wasn't there. Several guys had to step up because Jamal West wasn't there, and they gave him the most minutes. And he just – I don't think he even saw the guy. I think he was just looking at his teammate, was trying to get the ball out of his hands to get it to a ball handler, and the guy from Lamar was sitting there. Another thing, too, Lamar won the rebounding, 45-35. So they had a bunch of extra possessions. They held Nichols one and done a lot, and it's hard to beat a team that's good. And look, it was an ugly basketball game, and I would think that was Lamar was hoping for because they're just a defensive-minded team. Now, they played McNeese last game of the season, and one before last game of the season, and they lost by 2 points, and it was chippy at the end of that game where they had to separate the teams and everything. So this afternoon at 4 o'clock, if you got nothing else to do, you might want to watch this one because I got a feeling it's going to be a very physical ball game. Obviously, McNeese is the favorite. I know I read some comments where the Northwestern State coach said, well, we got to go play a road game against McNeese. It's hard to do. A lot of the smaller conferences play their tournaments at a team's home courts. It's just how it is. I mean, they can't afford Southland for a while had a neutral court system, and it was good. It was all right. But, financially, sometimes you just can't afford that because you're talking about you got to rent the facility, insurance, catering, all this other stuff and everything. And, it's not the most physical, responsible thing to do.
And look,
McNeese, they're a whole team, but, I wouldn't count out Lamar. Lamar is going to come, and they're going to bring it in. I think it's going to be a dogfight.
And the game could be heard right here at 4 o'clock with KLEB. But Teddy, last point before we switch to the women. McNeese today cannot play, up and down. They look great. Then they kind of, fall asleep for a little bit, let teams come back. If they do that tonight, they may be in trouble.
Yeah, it's been a weird year for McNeese, and I say that, and they went 19-1. They don't look like the same team they were last year, and I don't know why. Why that is, but they still find a way to win, and they're playing at home. But like I said, Lamar got them in a dogfight last time they played. Physical teams had to be separated. You definitely got to give McNeese the advantage, but. We'll see. You got to roll out that basketball and play it and see who comes out on top.
Let's turn real quick to the women. Win a game, then lose the next one, but still had the injury bugs that got them at the end of the season.
I'm proud of this team and proud of Coach Payne because he loses his 2 best players with 3 weeks to go in this season. He had little time to figure things out with what he had on the bench and who starters and whose roles were going to change. And they lose 5 in a row. I talked to him before, they go to the tournament. He does get Brista back, who shouldn't even be playing. Okay, the girl took a cast off her leg and said, I'm not going out that way in my senior year. So she shouldn't even be playing. They limp into the conference tournament. He tells me, I finally have a week to figure some things out here, and we got to figure out a way to win a game in the 50s because that's all we can score with Tanita Swift out and then Brista not being 100%. And they did that in the first game. They beat Rio Grande 55-53. Transition defense, period, was everything for them. They found some scoring. Brista looked like she wasn't even dealing with an injury in both games that they played. She had 17 against Rio Grande, and she wound up having 17 against Stephen F. Austin. And then you draw Stephen F. Austin, who's the top-scoring team in the conference. They throw up threes like that. That's all they want to do. They don't even run offense, I don't think. They just either they go inside or they jack it up. And that's what they're going to do. So I knew they were going to have trouble. But they competed. They were down by 4 points with about 7 minutes to go in the game, and I didn't think it was going to play out that way. And the shots all of a sudden didn't fall for Nichols, and they got down. And look, a telling stat here, Nichols made 5 3-pointers. Stephen F. made 9 3-pointers. That's a 12-point difference, and that was the difference of the score. Also, you lose by 12, and Stephen F. goes 24-28 from the free throw line. You know, they really fought, and they played as good as they could play without really their best player on the team. And I think Coach Payne, he figured out some things over that week time, and he gave his girls a chance to win that first game. And the second game, like I said, they competed well, and it's just Stephen F. was just a bad. Again, I think they would have been better off playing Southeastern or even Lamar and then Stephen F. because Stephen F. is an offensive-minded team. They're going to let you score, and that probably played into Nichols being into the game, but it was a tough matchup. They weren't going to get with them point for point. But, hey, 2 good seasons by the basketball.
Yeah, positive steps forward by both of these teams, and looking forward to the future. They got some great coaches there. Let's see how they're going to recruit and get the pieces that they need, and look forward to watching them next year. Teddy, real quick before we let you go, baseball update from the Colonels?
Hey, I got to go see them. That was a good thing. And they won. They swept the series. That was another good thing. You know, I saw them against, all of a sudden, I'm losing my train of thought, Corpus Christi. And they win Friday on a walk-off fashion, and then they blow them out 15-3 on Saturday. And then I go see the game, and they wind up winning 7-2. They had excellent pitching. They had a couple of home run bombs out of there. The bullpen was 4 scoreless innings. Coach Herring, after the game, talking to him, he said, you know, I told the team going into this weekend, you know, the Saturday before we lost 2-1 in McNeese, where we hit the ball 10 times, but we played flawless in defense and we pitched it well. He said, we can do that consistently. We will start winning games. Well, that's exactly what they did against Corpus. They got that momentum. They got a good feel about themselves. They played well. They didn't commit an error in the field all weekend, and that was a big deal. And so that I kind of got to see what that team is all about, which is a good thing. I think they'll be competitive if they keep playing that way. Now, last night they went to Tulane. They got beat 9-5. They played a good game. I think it was 6-5 before Tulane added a few runs late in the 8th inning and pulled away. But again, they're finding the bat. You know, they had a 220 batting average before the conference series last weekend as a team. So they're starting to hit the ball. Now they go play Mississippi State tonight in Biloxi. That's going to be a tough team, SEC. And then they got to make the longest road trip of the season near the Mexican border in Edinburgh, Texas, to go play Texas Rio Grande Valley, who is 11-3 and has a Sino Conference record. They swept Lamar and they swept UNO to start the season, and they've beaten a team like Dallas Baptist. They got some legitimate wins. So it's going to be the longest trip. There's always a lot of adversity on the road, whether internal, external, or what. But, hey, if they play like they played last weekend, you figured you want to get one. You know, when you go in these conference series, you want to win the ones at home, the 2-1, and you want to at least get one on the road. So if they get one on the road, they'll be good shape coming home for another critical series against St. Cornet. I believe it's St. Cornet Word next week, if I'm not mistaken. But, yeah, it was fun to see them. They played well, and I think there's some bright spots to look forward.
Well, Teddy, thanks so much for the time. Awesome job once again giving us some insight and just information on Nichols Sports. We're going to be talking to you soon, buddy.
All right, guys. Thanks for calling me. You're doing a good job holding the fort down for Keith.
Yeah, we're trying. All right, that was –
Have a good one.
All right, thanks, Teddy. That was Teddy Renoir. Does a wonderful job following Nichols State, and he comes with so much knowledge. He was a writer for the Comment a while back, and tremendous job, buddy. We got a dial tone, and he just does a great job. And we're not going to forget about softball team. They're 9-14 at Nichols. They head into UIW this weekend for a 3-game set before getting back on the 19th at Southern Miss, then 21st, and on the 22nd, it's Saturday, a doubleheader. So they got they're not home till March 26th. They got a long road stretch right now, but the softball team is 9-14. I know Mark Atzenhofer follows them closely, and we'll see if they can get things right this weekend, head toward getting above a winning percentage in the win column. So let's go ahead and take a break. When we get back, we're going to chat maybe some Pelicans and see what they're doing out there in New Orleans. This is Play-by-Play right here on KLEB. Welcome back here. Margarita on Play-by-Play. Coach Brian Callais here with Coach Damien Pierre. Buddy getting us a little thirsty here, heading to the end of the show. Let's talk, well, before we get into Pelicans, getting a few text messages that Bo Nix is terrible or horrible. And let's see what he does with Sean Payton.
I have the crowd support. That's what I'm learning.
Yeah.
Everyone's agreeing with me.
Yeah.
Much like when we coached together, everyone agreed with me.
No, I wouldn't go that far. But the one making the decisions maybe didn't agree. That's what counts. Let's just wait and see what Bo Nix is going to do. And I understand he's kind of not well liked, and people say he's horrible. And let's just see.
A lot of time to be able to make that decision.
Yeah. And then, look, if he stinks it up, I'll come on here and say I was wrong. But
hey, buddy, clip that, please.
Yeah. No.
I want you to clip him saying that he would come back on here and say he was wrong. I don't know if I've ever heard that before.
Yeah. I was wrong when I had an assistant coach coming. Let's go to the phone lines. Good afternoon. You're live on Play-by-Play.
Hey, Coach. How are you?
Hey, doing well, Reggie. How's it going?
It's going pretty good. I might have called in a little late, but I just wanted to, if I have time, just quickly recap for the listeners what you and I witnessed Saturday night at the top 28. Caroline Bradley, the sophomore from Oak Grove. We sat there, you and I. She's phenomenal. 15-year-old girl, 6'5". Obviously, she already got offers from every major college, not letters, offers from every major college in America. You and I sat there and we watched her. And, Coach, I think the most impressive thing about her, and she has a lot of she has a lot of, they're going to work with her in college, but she plays through contact, not scared to play through contact, always double team, sometimes triple team. But this girl, if she goes to the right college, she still has 2 more years of high school. She's really going to be a young lady to reckon with in college.
And can you believe that on social media that people were just dogging her, that she wasn't good and all this? It is insane. She scored 38 points, and their team had 43. She scored all but 5 of their points, and she's got a nice little jump shot right outside the lane. She uses the backboard well, and just people, it's crazy how they just would dog her out.
I knew she was special right away. She won the opening tip to one of her players. The guard gives her the ball to bring the ball up to start the game. So here's a 5 girl dribbling the ball up to start the game to set up the offense. Now, of course, she gave the ball back to the point guard, and they ran their offensive set. She does a good job of posting up. She wants the ball, puts her hands up, always double team. Like I said, they started triple teaming her. But, Coach, her first step to the basket with her dribble is so quick for her size. I mean, she really takes it to the rack. She can dribble for a girl that's 6'5". I know they're not going to ask that much out of her in college. And you and I were a little late going to the press conference, to the interview room. We caught the end of it, but her first step to the basket while dribbling is unstoppable, and the girl can dribble. She don't mind playing through contact. I was so impressed for a 10th grader who still has 2 more years of high school, what you and I witnessed. She'd fall down through the contact. She'd get fouled. I think she shoots 70% from the line, but she'd get right back up. She really does not mind. She threw an 80-foot baseball pass to a guard wide open who blew a layup. I don't know if you remember that. She threw the ball to the length of the court just about, and this girl blew a layup. Nobody was around her. So she really has skills. And look, for her size, Coach, as you witnessed like me, this is not just some tall girl with bad hands, kind of spastic. The only thing I saw that she's going to improve on at the next level, she's always the last one down court because of her size, but they're going to have a conditioning program. They're going to get her a little faster, and she won't have to play so many minutes. Well, but I have nothing negative to say about this girl. I don't know who's writing what on social media. I really don't keep up with it. But what I saw Saturday night, it was a star that was born because she averaged 30.5 points and 17 rebounds her freshman year last year, 30.5 and 17. So that's all I wanted to say. I wanted to call in. I know I'm a little late. You probably have another guest. But I just wanted the public to know that Oak Grove has this girl. I'm sure UConn's in the running too, but they're probably going to wait to see what Gino does. You know, he might be retired by then. But this is not just some tall girl that has no skills that you have to develop from scratch. Would you agree?
Yes, and look, they would cross midcourt. They were about, 10 feet, 12 feet beyond the three-point line, trying to lob the ball up to her at the rim, and she would use her body, and she would catch the ball in these long passes. And when we're talking, it's not a tall, skinny girl. I mean, she's got a big frame, and she moves well. Yeah, I agree. Remember that name, Caroline Bradley. She's going to be a force to be reckoned with on the college level, I think.
Yes, absolutely. I agree totally with you. And I'm going to let you go, but the last thing I want to say is, of course, at the college level, they're not going to have to throw the ball up right when they cross midcourt to her, you know, because these other girls are going to be her size. She's a very good post-up girl. Right now, it's a sophomore. This girl's 15 years old, and we don't hear about her because she's from North Louisiana, way up there at Oak Grove. But like you said, a phenomenal talent. This girl's just not slow. Her first move to the basket, if she has to dribble, is quick, and she's going like LeBron. You're not going to stop her. You might foul her. But I was just so impressed, and I wanted to just call you and recap because I'm very impressed with her, and I'm sorry if I called late.
No, you're good. You're good.
But I'm going to let you go, Coach. And who you have with you, Damien St. Pierre? Yeah, I miss teaching his daughter. She was one heck of a student and great girl. And, you know, I retired, and I think she's in 7th grade. I had her as a 6th grader. But anyway, tell Damien hi for me, and y'all have a great day, Coach. I just wanted to recap about Caroline Bradley. We're going to remember that name, you know.
All right, Reggie, thanks so much for calling. Have a great rest of the afternoon.
You too, Coach.
All right, thanks a lot.
Have a good day. Bye-bye.
All right, he mentioned, you know, your daughter. That's the two best things, the three best things is your wife and your two daughters.
I can't disagree with that at all.
You. And that's easy.
Mr. E, man, a big influence in my student days and my coaching days as well. Sitting here in the legacy of Golden Medal basketball coaches, still trying to fill his shoes in some of the things that he's done while he was at that school. Great man, I appreciate him.
Yep. Let's go ahead and take a break. When we get back, we're gonna talk a few things. What's bugging you today, or what things you may have seen in the last couple of days past. So keep it right here. When we get back, we'll end the show. Play-by-play right here on KLEB. Welcome back here to Play-by-Play. We have one more segment to go. We want to thank Reggie Easeman. We want to thank Tommy Baldo. We want to thank Teddy Renoise. And we also want to thank Coach Will Broussard for calling in today. We also want to thank Coach Damien St. Pierre for coming in the studio. Let's talk a little NBA real quick. Pelicans got a victory last night. They're now 18-48 on the year, out of the playoffs. And, you know, one thing what's bugging you? Zion bugs me. Where he's second, third year in the league, and you got to be on restriction minutes, a minute restriction. What is going on?
So that goes into one of my points. We talked yesterday about what we're going to talk about today, about commitment meeting expectations. So when you draft someone that high from, and I hate to even say this, a prestigious university with credibility, with that much talent and that much skill, what are your expectations there?
Yeah, especially you take him. Yeah, he's the number one pick in the draft.
And then you come with a prima donna attitude, and you still, when you're healthy and you're motivated, one of the best players in the league. He's one of the most exciting players to watch. And you come and you're on a minute restriction, even after a month out, or you play 4 or 5 games. What got me this season, and what I haven't watched much of Pelicans basketball after this, after he was out all that time, they suspended him.
Yeah,
they made him sit. The one time you actually have him available, you sit him down.
Then can you play a game tonight? Can you play another game tomorrow?
Me personally,
yeah,
no. But if I'm getting paid, if I'm a world-class athlete getting paid millions of dollars to play a child's game, I would find a way to play that.
Steph Curry, Draymond Green, you name that. That's part of the season where you have a game on a Tuesday night and you have a game on a Wednesday night. Zion in his third year is not going to play back-to-back games. Drafted number 1, the first pick in the entire draft, and you get a guy in his third year that cannot play back-to-back games.
And that falls in line. We talk about that prestigious university, and we're talking about Duke. There's been a stigma with a lot of those players coming out and you're looking at Grant Hill, you're looking at Jason Williams, you're looking at Bobby Hurley, and now you're looking at Zion Williamson, who have been drafted high, had a tremendous college year, and come out and shine in the NBA and then just falter. So he's falling right in line with that. That doesn't bother me because I really like to see those Duke players flop.
Oh, well, if they're not from Duke, any other university or Carolina, you would be thrilled.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You got the greatest player in basketball history that comes from North Carolina.
But what is going on with the Pelican organization, with their training staff, that in back-to-back games, when you have a game on one night and you have a game on the next night, the Pelicans' record is 2-12 on back-to-back. And they hurt always, it seems like. What is going on with that training staff? Something is wrong.
It's been like that for the past 5 years, and it's starting to leak in over the last couple of years to the Saints organization. Obviously, that all starts at the top. You're probably using some similar folks to do some dual roles in between the two seasons, and it's some of the same folks. But at the top, we're probably afraid to look in the mirror and say we made that wrong decision because it shows on the Pelican side and it shows on the Saints side that, hey, look, we're making this decision, we're sticking with it. You have to be ready to pivot. Again, that's business. That's real life, especially if you want to be successful. Is New Orleans a snake-bitten city when it comes to sports franchises? Obviously, we had a great run with Sean Payton, but outside of that, it has been a complete disaster.
And I see this more, the NOLA, no call. Why they keep showing that? I see it all over the place.
Do you get angry when you see that?
I just turn it off.
I still go back to the fake punt call. They should have stopped the fake punt, and then we wouldn't have to worry about any of that.
Yeah, and they should have converted it. It's a safe play they ran. I believe it was a 4th-down play where 9 times out of 10 it's completed. Incomplete. I mean, there's a bunch of things you can go back on and look, but I just don't need to see that anymore.
I'll make sure to send you the clip daily. Hey, let's chat.
Real quick, I want to say the Pelicans in the preseason next, you saw in the NBA league, they're going to play in Australia. 2 games in Australia. So when they get back, look, Zion's going to be jet lag, and so I expect him to be out 2 weeks to start the season next year.
That seems to be par for the course no matter where they play.
Yeah, it's crazy. So what you got?
Hey, so I know we're talking about, and we're running out of time, but we could probably sit here and talk about basketball strategy for a couple hours. That was my favorite part of my time with you at South Lafourche. So last night, Denver Nuggets game against the Oklahoma City Thunder. The Thunder head coach, obviously watching film and doing what he's supposed to do, was concerned with the quickness, the way the Denver Nuggets took the ball out, specifically Jokic heaving half-court passes, taking the ball out of the referee's hands. So last night, he decided to use the NBA's permanent sub rule, where at every dead ball, he had a player waiting to be subbed in the game, which forced the referees to stop the game and not give the ball to Denver to be able to make those easy scores. What's your thoughts on that?
I think it's awesome. I think you found a rule. You took advantage of it. Some people are going to say, oh, that's not basketball. I think it's great.
They did lose 140 to 127.
Well, you got to have players that are going to score for you, but I think it's good.
Look, I'll never forget, we sit in that playoff game at Woodlawn, I believe, in Shreveport, and we took that opening tip. I still use that today. That opening tip violation gives you a chance to play some defense and sit back and do what you got to do and make the game as slow as you can.
Yeah, I mean, look, often criticized that we slow the game down, but it's for reasons. I mean, now the Tarpons have athletes, and I'm not saying we didn't have athletes, but they're quicker right now, and they can do certain things, and we slowed it down, and that's one part of slowing down the game. But it worked for us.
It did, but times have changed, and definitely they're rolling over there. I mean, we obviously had some success as well, or you did. I was just along for the ride. But, you know, times changed. The basketball game has changed. The kids have changed. The parents have changed. It's just a different world, 2025, that we're living in.
And you speaking of the game, times are changing. What is going on, and I mentioned this before, when teams or a person on a team, a player is shooting a free throw, he makes his first shot. Why in the world does he have to high five or low five everybody on the court?
You know what we sound like right now? Get off my lawn. No, I get that. I'm a purist, and you show me a lot of that stuff. Don't talk to your free throw shooter at the line. Leave him alone, him or her, and let them focus. Nowadays, the coaches are yelling at everybody. The parents are yelling at the free throw shooter. The kids are dabbing them up, whatever that lingo is now. I'm a little old for that now, but they're even walking out of the line for whatever reason. I don't know if that makes them feel better about that next shot, but I'm with you on that.
I just don't, you know, my philosophy was when shooting free throws, if you make the first one, you want the ball right back. You want to shoot your second one quick. Don't get off the line. You're comfortable there and shoot it. But now, make or miss, they get off the line. They got to shake hands with everybody. Then they got to reset again to shoot another free throw. I don't see, I don't get it. And what bugs me even more is when teams don't put anybody in the lane. There's no one for them to shake hands with. So he gets off the line and makes as if he's shaking hands, high-fiving everybody, looks in the back of him. Somebody's at midcourt, he's going to high-five him in air. I don't know. When you said the game has changed, yes.
You're talking about, we're talking about free throws. So I'll go to something that happened this weekend. So you're looking at a 2-point ball game with the person shooting the free throw down to about 6 seconds left. The home team was down. The home team was up, and it was an and one. The young man missed the free throw. No one communicated that they only had one shot. The team that was up rebounded the ball and did not move. The young man that was blocking him out ripped the ball from his hands and made that layup to tie the ball game to force overtime. Just little things in basketball. That bothers me, not knowing and not coaching folks up about the little things, about the game situations. That's a bothersome thing to me.
And one last comment on that before we get out of here. I seen a team shooting a technical foul, and the girls were standing at midcourt, right, when they shooting the foul, the technical foul. The shooter missed the technical shot. The girls standing at midcourt all ran to get the ball like it was a live ball. I have never seen that in my life until then.
Just not teaching the game the right way. You got to get them game situation practices in.
That'll do it for us. We want to thank Coach Will Broussard. We want to thank Tommy Bado. We want to thank Reggie Easman, Teddy Renois, Jeff also for chiming in. It's been a pretty good show here. I thank Coach Damien St. Pierre for coming in the studio and Buddy for pushing all the buttons. So Damien St. Pierre, this is Coach Brian Callais wishing you all a very good rest of the afternoon. We're back here tomorrow. Oh, tonight, 6 o'clock, Inside Tarpon Athletics, first show of our season. Tune in 6 o'clock on KLEB for Inside Tarpon Athletics. Y'all have a great rest of the day.